It is 12 noon. Welcome back in. Lunch hour. Great radio stations across the state of Alabama tuning us in. A lot of college football talk as we're just 9 days away from the official start of the college football season, a couple weeks away before SEC teams get in action. As we continue our preview around the league, we now go over to the great state of Mississippi. Brian Hadad joins us from Super Talk Mississippi, another one sports show over in the state of Mississippi. He joins us now. Brian, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're as excited as we are as we're almost there.
I am, it's difficult to keep yourself in your chair at this time of year. You're just ready for college football. They call it week 0 next weekend, but I will be locked in on Iowa State and Kansas State. Don't worry about that.
Oh, no, I think we're right there with you. So, Brian, in regards to this Mississippi State football program, Jeff Lebby, obviously you got to go through those growing pains before you get to that promised land. Just where are things currently as they stand with Jeff Lebby and this football program?
I think that, by and large, fans are still on board with Jeff Lebby. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of questions when you go 2-10 in your first season. Nobody's going to be completely bought in to what you're doing. But I think that they know that Lebby, his offense gives State something it hasn't had in quite some time. Even with Mike Leach, I would never describe those teams as explosive offensively. And Jeff Lebby, his offense has a higher ceiling on it, I think, than any coach State has had in recent memory. So people want to believe in him, but this is a year where they got to show some major improvements. The schedule is incredibly difficult. The talent level, while much better than it was a season ago, probably still isn't quite where you'd want it going into SEC play. So he's got a lot of work to do. But like I said, at this time of year, optimism reigns supreme. Everybody's undefeated. So Mississippi State fans are excited for that season opener, but they definitely want to see what it looks like when we get to Hattiesburg in 2 weeks.
Brian, heading into last season, you looked at all the losses that the defensive side of the ball had prior to Lebby getting there. That was a concern. It certainly showed up on Saturdays. How much better with the additions and another year in the system do you believe that this Mississippi State defense will be?
I think, from a roster perspective, a talent perspective, it's night and day from a season ago. You've got some guys who can play at this level. Last year, we'll just be honest, a lot of the guys in the 2 deep for Mississippi State had no business playing Southeastern Conference football. I think this year in your 2 deep, you've got plenty of guys who can play at this level. My concern for State is, Mississippi State is a university that has produced some great defensive talent over the last decade, guys who have gone on to great careers in the NFL. Difference makers in the SEC. I don't know who those difference makers are. I really like Isaac Smith. He was one of the leading tacklers. I think he was the leading tackler in the SEC last year. But I think a lot of that was just because he was on the field a lot and the defense was on the field a lot, and he was the guy making the tackle. I don't necessarily know that it was because he was this elite player. So I don't know if State has the difference makers to be great defensively. They need to make a jump from where they were a year ago, which was the worst defense in the SEC by a whopping large margin, to just being, if they could jump to below average this year, that would be massive for them. If they could be the 12th best defense in the conference this year, that would be a huge jump. So that's kind of the good news and the bad news all at once, because, hey, if you jump to 12th, that's a huge improvement. But jumping to 12th will require a huge improvement from where they were a season ago.
So you were talking about additions. Talk about the transfer portal in regards to maybe some of the players that left Starkville, but they were very active in getting guys to come in. Were those more depth pieces, or are there some pieces, in your opinion, that can add to those ones and be difference makers, especially on the offensive side of the ball?
On the offensive side of the ball, your receiving core is basically all new. The only guy coming back is Jordan Mosley, who made any kind of contribution last year. Kelly Akari off to the NFL. Mario Craver transfers to Texas A&M. Kevin Coleman to Missouri. So you bring in some guys, Brennan Thompson from Oklahoma, Aiden Williams from Ole Miss, Anthony Evans from Georgia, Marcus Allen and Cam Thompson both played in the MAC last year. It's a lot of new faces. There's not a lot of proven production in that receiver room. But I will say this, Lebby, for all he's a very much a coach speaky kind of guy. But when things are right or things are wrong, he'll tell you when it comes to a particular room. he is really confident, as is his receivers coach, Chad Bumpus, in this group. They really like what they have at that receiver position. So a lot of new faces there. And then on the offensive line as well, State was very active in the second portal window after the spring. I think right now State's first-team offensive line will have at least 2 guys on it who didn't participate in spring practice here at Mississippi State. Blake Steen from Virginia and Zach Owens from Colorado, who transferred in following Phil Lodeholt, who was at Colorado a season ago, the assistant coach. He's the offensive line coach here at Mississippi State. Now, I expect both those guys, if not to start, to be massive contributors. So finding the right 5 guys on that offensive line, they're going to have to gel pretty quickly because they didn't have even the spring together to practice. So quarterback and running back, you've got a new running back there in Fluff Bothwell, but Devon Booth and Johnny Daniels coming back, big contributors for Mississippi State last year. And then, of course, Blake Shapen returns for his final year in Starkville. It's the same question with him year after year, right? Can you stay healthy? If Shapen can be healthy, he can be productive in this offense. If he's not, they're going to have to turn it over to either Luke Krummenhawk or the true freshman Kamario Taylor.
Brian, with the arms race that is the SEC, and let's be honest, just college football, for Mississippi State, from a collective standpoint, and knowing that you're going to have a lot of money, you got to put money in the coffers if you're going to get players. Where is that in people that you've talked to? Is it healthier? How much healthier is it from a year ago when Jeff Lebby arrived?
It's in a good spot. It's a question I get a lot, and I understand that around the conference there's a perception that Mississippi State might be cash poor. State announced about a month ago that they had a record fundraising year, over $85 million into the coffers here at Mississippi State. A lot of that going into the NIL. Not the collective, but the way State runs things with their State Excellence Fund, a ton of money going into there. From a football perspective, I think State has plenty of money to spend. The problem is they went 2-10 last year with an unproven coach and an unproven defensive coordinator. And, elite talent's not really going to line up for you on that one. You still have to recruit those guys. I think if State shows some improvement this year, you'll see a big jump in what State's doing as far as the transfer portal. From a basketball and baseball perspective, State's up there with anybody, especially baseball right now with the hire of Brian O'Connor. I would expect State to be, and they had the number 1 transfer portal class in the country, so that kind of speaks to that. But from a football perspective, State's money is in a really good spot. They just got to be better on the field so they can attract better talent to Starkville.
Brian Hadad joins us from Sports Talk Mississippi, Super Talk Mississippi. You can hear him this afternoon in regards to all things Mississippi sports. All right, so let's talk about this schedule this year, because you go back to last year, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think Mississippi State in the second half against Texas, that was an extremely competitive football game. Matter of fact, a lot of people in Austin were concerned about that as the second half started. A very competitive game against the Georgia Bulldogs. When you look at this year's schedule, Brian, where are those games that you could see potentially Mississippi State would pull that proverbial upset or give a team like a Georgia or a Texas all they could want for in that game?
Well, they do get Georgia and Texas at home this year. And, last year you mentioned that Texas game. Going into the fourth quarter, that game was a lot closer than people thought it would be. The Georgia game, State was in that game. They lost by 10. They just couldn't get any stops, which was a theme last season, as you can imagine. For State, the games you have to circle, if you want to be a bowl-eligible team this year, if you want to get to 6 wins, you got to circle the Arizona State game, the first home game of the season. That's week 2 here in Starkville. It's going to be a night kickoff. Should be a good crowd if you handle your business week 1 down in Hattiesburg against Southern Mississippi. That's one for sure. At Arkansas, year in, year out, those two programs, the winner of that game usually ends up in a bowl game, and the loser of that game usually does not. So State going to Fayetteville this year, that'll be a tough test, but they need to find a way to win that one. Then it becomes, you got to win one more. Well, can you win at Missouri? What are the Tigers going to be this year with a new quarterback and a lot of new faces there? Can you get back on top in the Egg Bowl rivalry? Games in Starkville this year against Ole Miss. Ole Miss has a lot of question marks. I think they're very talented, and obviously Lane Kiffin is an elite coach. But, can you finally, turn that one back around and bring the Golden Egg back to Starkville? So those are some opportunities there. It starts with week 2, though. If you don't beat Arizona State, you're going to have to win 3 SEC games. And with this team, that's going to be a very tough task.
Brian, if you have the ability to draft any current SEC quarterback, anyone to come in and take over this offense right before the season starts that you think would make the biggest difference, who is that quarterback?
Wow. in this offense, I want a little bit of a running threat. I'm going to go DJ Lagway. If he's healthy, I'd go DJ Lagway. That's the guy I would pick. I think that what Levy likes to do offensively, wants to have a mobile quarterback, wants his quarterback to contribute in the running game, but also wants to have a guy who can throw the ball down the field and make those vertical plays. I think Lagway would be an outstanding fit for State.
Brian, in regards to the rest of the Southeastern Conference, when we were all in Atlanta, the most conversation was basically 4 schools. And that's kind of how it ended up in the voting. And most people nationally are pointing to those 4 schools as the most likely schools to potentially either be back in Atlanta playing each other or making the college football playoff. How are you handicapping the SEC this year in regards to the pecking order, maybe those top-tier teams?
I had LSU as my SEC champion when we were in Atlanta. I'm sold on the Tigers, veteran quarterback, great transfer portal class. The schedule's not overly taxing. I do have them, keeping the tradition alive of going 0-1. They'll lose to Clemson, but I think
right.
I had them going undefeated after that. I have them playing Texas. I don't know why. I have Georgia losing the game to Texas for some reason. I don't know why. I didn't think that Georgia was going undefeated, and that was the game that stood out to me that I thought that they could lose. Georgia, and then Alabama is probably 4th. I think Alabama will lose to LSU and to Georgia. That's just my preseason prediction. But that at 10-2 should likely be in the college football playoff. Alabama's super talented, and if they put it all together, they can beat anybody. I just want to see a little bit more. And, Simpson, Manning, and Stockton, these are all unproven guys. Nussmeier is really the only proven guy in that class of the top 4 quarterbacks. So that's why I went with the Tigers.
That is Brian Hadad. You can hear him this afternoon from 3 to 6 on Super Talk there in the great state of Mississippi, Sports Talk Mississippi. Brian, tell Michael hello for us, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thanks, Brian.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate it very much. That's Brian Hadad joining us on the Higginbotham hotline. All of our guests join us on that hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
Well, you can join me and so many others at the Finnick right there near Railroad Park in downtown Birmingham. Great sports bar and grill from the great menu. You're going to get with the wings, the wood-fired burgers, the steaks, the fresh salads, seafood, cocktails, multiple large screens throughout the venue to watch a variety of the SEC and NFL football this fall, along with other sports. You got the best games played on the best and largest screens in town with the best sound, in my opinion, you're going to find anywhere. NFL Sunday Ticket, Red Zone. You got the LED video walls, 283-inch projection screen. Come on. A billiards room if you're into playing pool. All kinds of great stuff you're going to find. And live music that you're going to get there on Wednesday, Thursday, and Fridays. The weekend's reserved for the sports, so the music doesn't get in the way. It's the Finnick, right there near Railroad Park, 1630 2nd Avenue South. Always tell them Landrum from 3-Man Front and Jock sent you.
Well, we've got a deal for you coming back. We're going to tell you how much it would cost you if you want to go to a post-game press conference at the University of Oklahoma football. That's next. It's about revenue stream now in major college sports. Anything that you can do, thinking outside the box of trying to raise money for your institution. So a couple of schools, they are offering fan moments in which you can pay top dollar to find yourself rubbing elbows, whether it's on the sidelines or post-game, just to be close to your favorite team. So Oklahoma, they have a program called Sooner Magic Moments. It's a campaign that gives exclusive access to football games this year. One of the things that you can buy is access to the post-game media press conference against the Michigan Wolverines. Now, you have to buy your normal tickets to the game. So you just can't, purchase this opportunity and then go to the post-game press conference without actually buying a ticket to go to the game. So if you want to show up and go to the post-game press conference between Oklahoma and Michigan for the low price of $692, you can go.
Do I get to ask a question?
I don't think so.
Just to go sit in the room.
Just to be there in the room.
I want a question.
Get exclusive post-game media access for you and one guest and see where real-time reactions unfold. Hear OU coaches and players address reporters moments after the final whistle. Watch the story take shape through the questions, the insights, and the atmosphere. Must be 18 or older.
$692.
$692.
What is that symbolic of?
And 11 cents. I have no idea. It's $692.11. Maybe that is a significant number in the history of OU football. I don't know. So that's one option for you. If you're an Ohio State football fan, they are offering fans the experience of standing in the south end zone before the Texas game. It ends when the band starts. Watch both teams warm up from the field at Ohio Stadium between the 10 and 20-yard lines of the home sideline. $650 if you want to do that. Now, if you want a real deal, you go to the north end zone. It's $100 cheaper. It's $550. Same situation, you're just in the other end zone.
And watching the away team warm up, I guess.
So if you had $600+ that was just burning a hole in your pocket, Landrum, and you wanted to get rid of it, which one of those two experiences do you believe you would get the most value of as a fan? The post-game press conference at Oklahoma, Michigan, or on the sideline of Texas, Ohio State pregame?
Sideline.
Absolutely.
For me personally, it wouldn't be a whole lot of value for either one, but we do this for a living. So I would say that the value, if I was just a fan, I would do the sideline.
Well, you get a picture of Bevo as well.
Yeah, the whole post-game press conference thing doesn't.
There's literally no, and I understand some people just want to have the experience of being there physically in person to say they've done it. It's the same thing as watching it on your phone right after the game. I mean, because I'm with Landrum. If I'm paying that money, I want a question. Now, it can be the last question.
I mean, heck,
but I want a question.
You can even, and I could say, we don't want a drunk fan coming in here and asking an inappropriate question.
Yeah,
but
you have a bad game.
You can have your SID formulate the question, but I still want to ask it.
Correct. Yep.
$692.11.
It's so odd.
So it's $692 to go sit in a press conference, and it was only $1,000 to run on the field last year with Nebraska or USC.
I think I would do the running on the field. I'd find the money.
Molly wouldn't, because I paid for it and she didn't do it.
Did you ever get your money back?
No.
Did you write it off on your taxes?
Yeah, it was a donation to the Southern California Athletics
Fight
Department.
On athletic department?
Yeah.
If I had an extra $700 burning a hole in my pocket, maybe I would just arrange for really nice transportation to and from the game.
I was about to say, if I have that money to spend on an event like that, I'm just going to upgrade my tickets, right? I'm just going to make sure I have the best possible seats I could have for whatever game I'm going to.
Somebody correct me. I'm not aware that Alabama and Auburn offers anything like this.
I'm not either.
And if they do, I'm curious if an Alabama and Auburn fan would be willing to pay that type of money to either be on the sideline before a big game or go to a post-game press conference. Wasn't
it Texas A&M last year that offered a very similar experience for one of their games? And
I think it was a sideline.
Was it the Texas game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was sideline.
And that was over $1,000.
Yeah.
Now, that was cool.
But it's like, who came up with the idea to go to a press conference?
I don't know.
Do you really want, let's say, a fan that has been enjoying the game with adult beverages, do you really want to take the chance of somebody coming in there and acting like a fool?
No, but I guess it's you view it as a more controlled environment than having a fan there on the sideline in warm-ups. Not that they would have free reign, but I don't know. Are you worried about the wagon and the horses trampling somebody? Is it a liability thing? No, I'm being serious. Is it more liability from the OU standpoint? It's just odd. Yeah, go and sit in a post-game press conference. Well, awesome. What if they lose?
That's what I was about to say. What happens if you buy one of these experiences and it's after one of those Oklahoma tailspins? Auburn takes Oklahoma to the woodshed, and then you're in the post-game press conference, you're sitting there wanting to ask Brent Venables what happened.
For a big game like that, this seems like a really big inconvenience. Really big. Into the game, all right, sir, you're going to remember, we're going to have you in place for the post-game press conference, so you have to leave your seat watching this game 30 minutes early, and it's a good game.
Well, and that's where, again, I guess the reason you can ask the price you are is because of the game and the quality that we expect to be of that matchup. Why are you not doing this with one of your FCS games? Because then, you're probably going to beat somebody like 45-7, let them ask a question after that, and it's probably going to be it's going to be a softball, right? And then the fan gets the experience that they were really hoping for to be a part of the media for a day, and you don't have to worry about, like you're talking about, you have a bad Saturday, Auburn comes in there, steamrolls you by 21, you got a drunk fan calling for, John Mateer's job. Hey, why is Moneyline Mateer? Why is he betting against Oklahoma?
Then you have an emotionally charged Brent Venables coming in and lashing out and asking who let this guy in there. Nobody let him know that we were offering $692.11 fan deal.
Lose-lose situation, yeah.
Terrible idea.
Got to bring that money in, I guess. But there's going to be some fan out there that sees that and immediately goes, that's what I've waited my whole life for, sign me up.
Yep.
That's a lot of money.
A lot of money for that.
What did you call it the other day, Pat? Revenge spending?
Yes.
Maybe this is a case of revenge spending from the pandemic.
690-something bucks.
Honey, there was a charge on our debit card. Yeah, well.
I didn't
tell you, but I'm leaving you and the kids at the end of the game that we're going to next weekend because I'm going to go and sit in a room with a bunch of other media members, half of which don't want to be there.
That's another good point.
And sit through a press conference.
I'll throw this out there right now. If anybody is thinking about taking this offer up, I will do the chip challenge again for $691.
And then you'll go to Oklahoma and buy that ticket and go to the press conference?
No. I will just do the chip thing again for money. I feel like that would be more entertaining.
Yes. Hey, we got text coming in. Someone texting, Auburn offers packages for practice. Alabama offers the locker room experience.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. Your eyebrows are raised. That was my initial thinking was, okay, of all of these potential places, that would be the one where I'd say no. Now, these locker rooms are different. Now, you have...
I'm assuming this
like
is
a foyer of the locker room.
Yes.
Then you have the locker room itself, then maybe the dressing area.
And I know at least the Alabama one is, as like you're describing, it's massive. It's almost like a maze in the locker room
so maybe you go
into
this is stay behind the ropes, but you can see the locker room. You feel like you're in the locker room.
Obviously, the players aren't going to be in there when you're taking them around. I would assume. Maybe there's one or two. But
you don't want to see that. Because I went on a visit to, I actually went with Cole, and it was a visit, and went to a locker room after a game, and I'm sure better be ready for it.
Yeah,
be ready.
Mm-hmm.
So I was telling you about this scrimmage that was happening at Auburn this morning. Not a scrimmage, sorry, just practice. Scrimmage is tomorrow. There was an individual that was at practice, and I am not familiar with this individual. I'll have to look him up. But apparently he had a video, and he posted, Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze slams his visor down in frustration after Jackson Arnold fails to get the ball out. Second time today in these drills, Arnold was slow to make a decision. Well, that tweet has now been taken down. But obviously, just like anything on the internet, everybody has already captured it.
No, we know who will not be back at practice.
Yeah,
will not
like
be
I
offered
said,
the fan experience.
And I'm not familiar with this. I'm not going to say the individual's name on the air because I'm not sure if he's a media member or not. If he is, I've never heard of this individual. You can come look at it if you want. Are you familiar with that person?
No.
Okay. But yeah, a lot of people around the Southeastern Conference apparently saw it because I'm getting blown up. Left and right from people.
Okay. This is student.
Okay.
With student paper.
Ooh. Okay.
Rookie mistake. Rookie mistake.
Yep. Yeah, you're gonna hear about that one.
Yeah, probably not. Like Pat said, or you probably not going back to practice.
Gotta be careful what you put out there.
You do.
It's like I sent y'all the video when we got to go down on the field for the Braves, right?
Yeah.
There was a video. It would have been great. It would have been fascinating for people to watch, but can't.
No, can't do that stuff.
Now you got to use better judgment, and this young person will learn.
Yeah, he's going to learn the hard way.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Yep.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. But needless to say, there's.
Hey, but us appreciate that person doing that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want to be them, but it helps us out.
Well, one thing's for sure, even when we were at the Rickwood event between the Cardinals and the Giants, Major League Baseball had very, very tough instructions for us.
Yeah.
On what we could and could not do. Like we could be on the infield warning track, the outfield warning track, but we could not do any type of social media videos, nothing.
Nope.
Zero. And they told us, if you get caught doing it, you're out. And you probably will never be back in another Major League Baseball game under a credential. So unfortunately for this young man who was at Auburn's practice, that's another reason why coaches just do not like to open things up.
Yep.
Because stuff like that happens. And so unfortunately for him, he's about to learn the hard way.
Well, he's probably just learned the hard way, considering that it was taken down. I'm guessing Hugh Freeze didn't appreciate that.
As we all know, there are people around the conference that they just do not like Hugh Freeze.
Right.
And they are going to take every opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just waiting for Lane Kiffin to post something this afternoon about, maybe a picture of a visor.
I was going to say
ground.
he'll take a picture of his visor on the ground at practice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wish Ole Miss and Auburn played this year. That would be so awesome.
Oh, that'd be great. Get your popcorn.
Yeah. Coming up in a little bit later in this half hour, we're going to talk to Rob Pate. He normally joins us at 11:45. We went a little bit long with David Cutcliffe, so he's going to join us coming up in about 15 minutes from now. And then next hour, Dimitri Ravanos will join us from SEC Unfiltered. All that straight ahead on Three Man Front. 12:34 here on Jocks. Welcome back. This is Three Man Front. Been a great show so far. Rodney Orr, David Cutcliffe. We're going to talk to Rob Pate. Already heard from Brian Hadad. Dimitri Ravanos coming up at the top of next hour. Tired of worrying about that roof? Whether it's your family home or commercial building, Abide Roofing, they deliver tailored solutions for every need. At Abide, it's about more than just a new roof. It's about a team of highly skilled pros who will bring their A game to every single job. They work with precision and pride, using only the best materials to guarantee durability and lasting value. With over 25 years of trusted experience, they have the expertise to get the job done right the first time. We know dealing with insurance companies, it can be a hassle, so don't let that hold you back. Call Abide Roofing today, 205-941-6223. The experts at Abide Roofing, they're masters at navigating the claims process, and they're going to get you the coverage you deserve, just like they did me. When I had some problems, I had to get a whole new roof replacement. They dealt with my insurance company directly. There's a free consultation estimate, all of that Abide will do. Just give them a call, 205-941-6223. AbideRoof.com is the website. Abide Roofing, quality, precision, and customer satisfaction every single time. Give them a call today at Abide Roofing. So Eli Drinkowitz, he made some headlines over in Atlanta during SEC football media days. So he had an idea, and it was radical. 30 teams should make the college football playoff. That would be 10 automatic bids for conference champions, 20 at-large bids. Now, the automatic bids, it would be all 10 FBS conference champions. At-large bids, here's where it gets really interesting. The SEC and the Big Ten would each receive 7 at-large bids, while the ACC and the Big 12 would get 2 apiece. Now, the remaining spots, or the final 2 spots, they would go to the two highest ranked at-large teams from another conference. You also would have play-in games. Drinkwitz suggested play-in games could determine which teams qualify for the at-large spots. So a clip from SEC football media days. So what happens? Just kind of pull the curtain back a little bit. The SEC and the SEC Network, they will do interviews with coaches and players that they basically will bank. And then leading up to the actual kickoff of the season, you will start seeing some of those distributed through their social media platforms. So Eli Drinkowitz, this was posted yesterday from the SEC Network account, in which Eli Drinkowitz really goes on a stump speech talking about what he wants to see in a college football playoff.
Is it going to be best long-term for the fans in 5 years, in 10 years, that only 12% of college football is involved in a playoff? No, that's not going to be good. That's not going to be sustainable. There's 136 Division I playing football teams in college football. How do we give them the most access? And if I'm in the SEC and you're telling me, hey, what's the easiest path? An automatic, you have to win the SEC to make the playoff, or you have to be in a beauty pageant? Well, I'm not into beauty pageants. I'd rather play it on the football field. And as a competitor, I can lay my head on the pillow and say, hey, I had a chance. I had an opportunity. I'm not going to be able to lay my head on the pillow and say, I couldn't get in front of the committee and convince the jury of my peers to put me in the playoffs. It's ridiculous. And I think it's a short-sighted idea. It was decided on because we couldn't agree with this. Oh, well, let's go to 11-5. 11 teams being decided by an imperfect group of committee members sounds insane to me.
Eli Drinkowitz at SEC Football Media Days sitting down with Marty and McGee. What do you guys think? Is it outlandish? 30 teams?
Sounds like socialism to me.
Socialism in football?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I understand where he's coming from. And do I think that we're going to stop at 16? No. I think ultimately.
First of all, if you think that, sorry, Conrad, but half of the conference is going to get bids?
Yeah, and that's my thing. I understand what he's saying in the sense of you want as many teams to feel like they have the potential or the opportunity to play for a national championship as possible, and that sounds nice. But even with a 12-team playoff, let's be honest. Last year, half of the teams that were in that playoff, you knew immediately they're not winning a national championship. It's great that they're there, but they're not actually competing for the ultimate prize. You know what teams really are. So, and I guess you could say the same thing about the NCAA tournament, but that's a little bit different, I think, with how we've seen Cinderella's work there. I am not a huge fan of let's put more
water
teams
down the
in.
college football playoff. Let's water it down.
We don't need more teams in a playoff that can't win a national championship. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to watch the 32nd best team in the country competing for a national championship spot.
But Conrad, it's all about access. You got to give access to everyone.
You don't.
We've had years where we've had 4 teams in a college football playoff, and you felt really, really good. Like you would be willing to bet something that meant a lot to you that 2 of those teams had absolutely no shot of winning a national title.
Correct. I feel like the vast majority of seasons, there are maybe 6 teams that you would look at and say legitimately that team 100% is a national title contender. And you feel really, really good about that. Doesn't mean there's not teams that come out of nowhere and surprise you like Michigan a couple years ago, but
basketball's different.
It is. But generally speaking, in college football, there's less than 10 teams in any given season that we would all say, yeah, that team can actually win.
But it's not fair that only 12% gets access.
I don't care about what's fair.
Let's circle back to socialism here.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
All right, so
we're going the participation. I mean, that's kind of what that is. Like you want people to feel good about themselves because they got into the playoffs.
Would this make everybody happy? If you compete, you invest, you spend money at the FBS level, everybody gets to go to a bowl.
Who's going to buy tickets for that? Like
who cares?
Who wants to see Kent State with a 1-11 record playing a bowl game?
Yep.
Nobody.
People don't buy tickets now when there's a 6-6 team playing in a bowl game.
Exactly. So let everybody, how many bowl games do we have now? 40 something?
Too many, but yeah, a lot. A lot.
What's 60 something bowls? No, advertise them. This is the worst versus the worst. We got UMass taking on Kent State. I'm like you, but if we're going to go down this mindset of let's do what's best for everyone in the whole of college football, Yeah. 30-team college football playoff, and the rest of the teams get to go to bowls. Will that make everybody happy? I'm saying this tongue in cheek, but we don't need a 30-team playoff.
No, we don't.
Maybe there comes a day when we do, when the parity is just that great, or you're splitting hairs.
Auburn was on the practice field earlier this morning. Hugh Freeze has been talking with the media. We are trying to get you some sound in which I believe he was talking about this convoluted nature of the play calling that was brought out within the last 24 to 48 hours, in which you've got a coach calling down 1, a different coach in down 2, different coach in down 3. Freeze second down, and he could override everybody. So here is Hugh Freeze after practice today when he was asked the question addressing the play calling duties at Auburn.
Derek Nix is the offensive coordinator, and he does all the planning, scripting, in charge of the game plan. But man, there's no staff that is not a collaboration on the plan. And I, offensively or defensively, reserve the right to say on the call sheet, I don't really like that one right here. But he does a great job for us. Kent kind of leads the third down plan. But other than that, Nix kind of leads the charge and has the play calling duties, with me reserving the right to say, hey, I go over on defense and during the when we're on defense to do head coaching duties and do the same thing there and say, I think you ought to give me a hole player here. Or I don't tell DJ a whole lot, but there's times I can see what I think offenses are doing, and I say, hey, man, I think we need to cloud this. But that's the way it'll be this year. And while I'm doing that, the offensive guys led by Nix are talking about the next series and what we should do. And usually there's another TV timeout or something, so I have time to get back on and say, all right, what do y'all think? Yes, I like all of that.
I know it might have been tough for you to hear that, basically all the ambient noise going on behind that, but he addresses in regards to the hierarchy and what they do in regards to play calling.
Yeah. And none of that is unfamiliar. If you've been around a college football program, those guys, if his expertise is in offense, you'll have those guys that go and say defense. I know Bill Clark, he used to have conversations with his offensive coordinator, Brian Vincent, during games. Say, hey, this is what we're going to do here. You do things that are going to complement, and you're trying to win a football game ultimately. So nothing that he said there caught me by surprise.
No, and I mean, again, I think everything that, the way that we broke it down yesterday and tried to talk through it, I mean, unless, am I missing something from what Hugh Freeze says? That's basically what it was, what we talked about.
It was basically what it was, but I think some people construed it, and maybe it wasn't. He said Kent has the plan, the third down plan. But Derek Nix is our coordinator, and I reserve the right to. But yesterday it was more specific, where it was first down, second down, third down.
And as Pat laid out, right? And, we had people that pointed out, I guess there was some article that mentioned this last season, and that's how it was working for them. And Auburn, offensively speaking, did pretty well, all things considered, offensively last year. So it clearly works for them. We're not saying, oh, this is the dumbest thing ever because it's not working for them. It clearly does work. It was just something we hadn't really heard before.
We'll ask Rob Pate, former Auburn DB, next on the program.
12:49, three-man front on this Thursday. A lot of you reacting on the Jocks text line, whether it was a video and a tweet that's been taken down of Hugh Freeze slamming down his hat in practice. Nathan King, frequent guest of the show, reporting from practice that Jackson Arnold, Auburn quarterback, not getting the ball out quickly enough to appease the head coach Hugh Freeze, and some wide receivers that are banged up before Auburn gets back at it for their second scrimmage of the fall. Well, speaking of the fall, when it comes to tailgating, when it comes to my refreshment, I go with our friends at Mystic Beverage, made in Blount County, Alabama. It's sparkling water infused with various cannabinoids for relaxation and to achieve that level of mood that you're looking for. If you're looking to focus, especially late in the day, you don't feel like a hot cup of coffee, especially this time of year, you're not into iced coffee, Man, you can go on with the Lift Blend, and that's the one that I go with. It's got the green coffee bean extract. It's going to give you that clean boost. It's not going to make you feel all jittery. But not only that, you got the High Hills, you've got the Nirvana, you got the Broadway. You can find all of their products easily. They're online at mysticbeverage.com or find them at your local Piggly Wiggly Mystic Beverage. Make it your refreshment this fall for tailgating and beyond.
So Landrum was just mentioning Nathan King from Auburn Undercover. He and the media, they were able to watch about 45 minutes of practice this morning. Now, keep in mind that this was no pads. This was just one of those type practices before the scrimmage tomorrow. Some of the guys were held out. Some of them been banged up, from the first scrimmage and some tackling stuff that's been going on at practice. So you just heard a clip from Hugh Freeze addressing the situation in regards to the offensive play calling. So it'll be interesting to see how that moves forward, if that is something that is a prickly subject that keeps getting brought up. One thing's for sure, if the offense does struggle, I think a lot of people will kind of hone in on that question in regards to the hierarchy and how that's done at Auburn.
Yeah, because you're not going to question the surrounding talent. You're not going to question the wide receiver room. You're not going to question the offensive line, which on paper and by people who have watched it, markedly better than any one that they've had in recent memory. You got a lot of continuity on the offensive side of the ball. So what else are you going to blame it on besides Jackson Arnold? So I told you guys, if Jackson Arnold does not have success early in this season, I think that's more of a Jackson Arnold problem. But now people could point to, hey, maybe it's confusion, play calling. Rob Pate can help try to settle all of this, and he joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Dr. Pate, how are you?
Great, guys. How are we going?
Doing well. All right, by committee or the way that it was explained with Hugh Freeze and his comments about play calling rotation with the coaches, anything about that stuck out to you? Not saying that it's a collaborative effort, but how certain guys were designated for certain downs.
Yeah, I think it's just a case, guys, of oversharing. Kind of like we got into the conversation about Hugh Freeze talking about making the life easy for Jackson Arnold in practice. I think there's some nuance to that it's kind of being, wrestled with and discussed ad nauseum. But I don't think that. Look, Hugh Freeze calls the plays. I think Hugh Freeze calls every play, and I think everybody on the staff knows that, and I think most people know that. I think the way that it was phrased was that, you got an offensive coordinator sitting there receiving a question, and he's not going to say, well, I'm the offensive coordinator, but I have no involvement with the offense or the game plan or who calls what. So I think you're just getting my job as offensive coordinator is specifically I'm focused on first down, and when there's contemplation going on, I'm in his ear on first down. Coach Austin's job on third down is he's going to do the game planning and the personnel groupings and all the different scenarios for third down. That's what he's going to focus on for the week. And when we get in those scenarios, that's who will be in Coach Freeze's ear. But I think that this is why Coach Saban never had assistant coaches speaking to the media, is to avoid things like this. And probably for good reason. I like that coaches get made available and that guys say some things, but then you end up having to walk it back and defend it, and it's this kind of thing. So I think it's a lot to be made about nothing, but we'll see. The reason why it's something is because Auburn has had some significant struggles putting points on the board and operating in the red zone. If Auburn was putting up 50 points a game, I don't think anybody would care who did what on first, second, or third down.
We've got less than a minute, but based on everything that you're hearing, practice reports from folks and also things that have been made public in the media, what are your thoughts right now at this point in camp and your outlook for the Auburn Tigers?
I think that the difference this year between what I've been hearing in the last couple of years is that this year there's true expectancy. I think last year there was hope. There was a belief that, if things go right, if we get great quarterback play, that maybe we'll have a chance. We can compete. I think this year they think that they not only can compete, they can win a lot of games. And I think they believe they can show up and not even week in and week out against some teams, play their best game and still come out a winner. But, that's something Auburn's had a hard time doing. That's to see if we can get over the hump this year with that. That would be great.
Rob, we always appreciate the time. Thanks for making time for us. We know it wasn't easy today, but we'll hopefully have you for the full segment next week. We appreciate it.
Hey, sounds good, guys. War Eagle. Thank you.
Rob Pate joining us, Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham's your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR service. Dimitri Ravanos, I can hear the water running now. The SEC Unfiltered College Football Bubble Bath comes your way next.